Okay, hello again. We are back. We are back with some more talking videos and still a few ideas in mind. And yeah, with how the weather has been lately up here in Lakeside, I am going to record a couple of talking videos inside because it has been raining lately. And one day it's 40 degrees, another day it's 70 degrees, and well, that's where we are right now with the temperature outside. So I will be in here and share some more thoughts on certain topics that have been on my mind. And well, for what we have today, this can kind of go hand in hand with a video you might remember from a couple of months ago. I made that one video called The I Deserve It Gift, Watching Our Money. And this is another video on the subject of money. And, well, there is no doubt that there is definitely a place for saving money and always being careful with it. And there is certainly a place for all of us to say, maybe that is something that I do not need to purchase. And we can save our money there. But also, with how things work in the world, yeah, there are times when we spend money on certain things. You know, they're spending money on groceries, and if we go out to breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and well, if you want to take a vacation once a year to a certain place, then yeah, that would require money. And there's also um, the occasional time where maybe we are called to help someone if they are lacking a few dollars. However, we have to be careful with how to handle each person, and I will get into that later in this video. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely a place to save money, and then there's also times when we spend money. And well, of course, I am encouraging anyone out there to give your money wisely because, yeah, we do not want to go down to $0 and 0 cents because then we would be in really big trouble at that point. And, well, one thing that has been in my mind for at least a few years now, or maybe even longer, is that whenever I have had the chance to travel and see a new amusement park, what I have been doing to make it easier on myself and so I don't make a huge mistake with my money is that I set up a budget in my mind, and I think to myself, okay, I know that this is how much I have in my checking account, and this is my vacation budget. And, you know, I'm not going to say how much money I have in my a checking account, but say that my budget for a certain trip is $500. Say I'm going to one amusement park out there for about 3 or 4 days. Then, I have $500 in my mind that I can use for filling up the car with gas. And if I want one t-shirt as a souvenir from this park. Okay. And then there's also money for the kind of expensive food at these parks and, stuff like that. And I know I was definitely thinking of the vacation budget last year when I finally made it to Six Flags Great Adventure and then Hershey Park. And that was a nice trip that I got to experience with Joel and Tyler. And it was actually the vacation that we were going to take in June of 2020. And we had everything booked with the option that we could get our money back from the hotel if we had to cancel. And we are so glad that we went with that option at all of these hotels that we booked before, because that was a year where we did have to ask for a refund because COVID shut things down for a while in 2020. And so it did take a while. But yeah, last year in April of 2024, I got to finally see Six Flags Great Adventure and Hershey Park, and it was a wonderful time. It was a wonderful time at both parks, and I got one t-shirt at each park. And the food was kind of on the pricey side because, for a lot of these parks out there, the food can be pricey. However, I had a vacation budget in mind, and I did not go over that limit. And, I was being wise with my money, and that's what I would always encourage anyone out there to remember, that it's good to have a vacation budget. And, well, just for everyday life, to have a budget and think carefully about how we are giving our money. I know that I can think of some people out there who I know who are not really thinking about spending their money wisely, and they are purchasing a number of things that they don't really need. And it's no wonder why these people are down to nearly $0, living paycheck to paycheck and also blowing their money on things they don't need. And then they turn to other people who have money, like me, and they also turn to people who are kind, and they think, maybe I could ask him or her for some money. And yeah, there can definitely be a place to help people, but always be aware of certain people out there who may start to think, well, I was able to borrow money from that person once. Maybe I can keep on borrowing money from them. And that can be a problem. That can be a problem. I know that I have had certain friends in my life before who came from poorer backgrounds, and some of these people also have spent what little money they have on things that they don't really need, like video games and concerts and substances. And then they have asked me at certain times, and sometimes constantly, can I borrow $20? Can I borrow $50? I really need your help. And, this is where the honest side can come in, where we need to stand our ground. And if we are noticing that with certain people and they are starting to mooch off of us, then that's when we need to set a boundary and hold back, because we do not want anybody out there to start depending on us to pay for their food or bills. If other people out there have a job and then they're blowing their money on things they don't need, then those people need to learn how to save their money and give their money wisely and not depend all the time on other people like those of us who have money. And we certainly do not want to be giving money to someone when that person could turn around and use it to buy cigarettes or beer or other substances. And, you know, we don't want to give our money to anyone who's going to use it for bad. There is certainly a place for saying no, because we do not want people to start depending on us for so many things. And, well, that's especially true if certain people are blowing their money. And yeah, I think you get what you mean. And, well, there is a story that I remember from one of my relatives, my quote unquote grandma, as I call her. And I think that this would have turned out different if her husband was still alive and he could have put a stop to this. But the story is that, well, let's see, in 2013, this relative of mine, she had a cousin and her husband, and the cousin and husband were in a car accident, and their car was, I guess, totaled or, you know, really impacted. And, well, both people were fine, but, that couple started to get behind on their bills. And so they were asking my quote unquote grandma, really, the husband was doing this. He was asking my quote unquote grandma, could you send me $500? Could you send me $1,000? And over a period of 5 years, this guy was asking my quote unquote grandma for more and more money, even though they were several states apart from each other. He was still asking her for money. And my quote unquote grandma kept, a sheet of paper and was adding up how much money she ended up giving to that guy over time. And eventually it totaled up to $32,000. $32,000 that my quote unquote grandma gave to a guy who was around the same age, in his 70s. And, it's just really pathetic when you think about how that guy was not doing anything to help himself, and he was just continually asking my quote unquote grandma for more and more money. And that was a lot of money out of her pocket towards the guy, and she's never going to see that money again. And I think that one guy was taking advantage of my relative, and, you don't want that to happen to you. There certainly can be a place at times to give money to help someone, or, maybe once in a blue moon to, you know, treat someone to a lunch or something like that. But you don't want people to be asking you for money all the time, especially the same person, because that can lead to people mooching off of you. And yeah, I hope that you can find the strength, if you're ever in that kind of situation, to say no, and hope that other people can learn to, kick themselves and work hard and spend their money wisely. And yeah, it's all about knowing what the right thing is to do. And I think just one other thought that I would like to share when we are on the subject of giving money wisely. There is also one other special place where we can give our money. And if you are connected to a church, then if you go to a service on a Sunday morning, then you might know where I am going with this. And this would be giving money towards something that starts with the letter O, followed by the letter F, and another F. And if you're thinking of those letters and what the rest of the letters are, if you're thinking the offering, then yes, that is a very special place to give some money, and that can help the church to keep on running. That is a very good place to give some of our money. And yeah, um, maybe instead of purchasing a few things that we really don't need, maybe we could put some of that money towards the offering and help to keep the church alive. And well, it's totally up to you out there if you ever wish to travel to different parks or collect some video games or not. I know that roller coasters are not everyone's thing, and video games may not be the thing for everyone as well. I don't know. I mean, everyone's different. I know that I have my collection of older video games. Most of them were purchased from my dad. And I have been a roller coaster enthusiast for about 20 years now. And yeah, both are neat things to have in my life, the old video games and the roller coaster hobby. However, with both of those things, I have still been careful. I've had my vacation budget with the different amusement parks, and, well, believe it or not, in my adult life, I have only purchased 2 video games ever. One of them is a bowling game on the GameCube, and the other one is Mario Golf on the N64. And that's it. And really, I am happy with what I have. And I think that's a wise and biblical thing to remember. Being content with what we have. Being content with what we have. And, just knowing when to save our money and giving it wisely and having a budget and knowing the boundaries with people out there so we know when it's appropriate to help people and when we have to say no, because now you're starting to mooch off of me. And also remembering to give some money towards the offering on a Sunday. Yeah, I just wanted to share all of that. It has been in my mind as of lately. And, as you continue to live your life, I hope that you can make the smart choices with saving money and giving money wisely, so you can be in a financially good place throughout your life. I just wanted to share all of that today, and I hope that this has made sense. I wish you the best with how you go about with your money, and I wish you the best with everything. And so, thank you again for listening. There should be another video here today real shortly, and I will see you all again for that video really soon. Thank you.